In his new book, The Division of Light and Power, former Congressman and Democratic presidential candidate Dennis Kucinich shares how he fought against corporate sabotage, political corruption, and organized crime as mayor of Cleveland, Ohio. The book highlights Kucinich's quest to protect the Cleveland's municipal light against a utility monopoly.
The former mayor and author of The Division of Light and Power joins us now to discuss. Welcome.
Good morning. Great to join you on Rising. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. Tell us why you decided to write this book and a little bit more about what is in it.
I started the book actually in November of 1979, but the events in Cleveland at that time were so shattering and mind-blowing that I could not write the story. So for 40 years, I carried around with me over 100 boxes of files that documented the events that transpired in Cleveland, beginning in 1969, a blackout that occurred at Christmas time. That's where the story opens, and I'm this 23-year-old councilman. And going through a story of corporate espionage, sabotage, of this utility monopoly attempting to upend the city government in order to take over our municipal electric system. And this story has it all. I mean, if anyone's interested in the inner workings of government, what actually happens as opposed to what we're told is happening, this book will be an effective guide. And not only that, for civic activists, it shows people how to fight back. But there's really never been, I'm told, a story quite like this from an insider relating to municipal politics.
Well, Congressman, thank you for writing the book, and we know that you've always been a warrior for regular working folks against these special interests and corporate interests that dominate our politics. You said something really important in there that I'd love to hear more about, and it's that this book teaches people how to fight back. And I think, right now we're in the middle of people wondering how they can do that, both locally, municipally, in the state government, and certainly in their federal government in a way that's productive. Can you talk a little bit about how people can fight back and how this book outlines that?
Well, first of all, you have to be aware of what's going on. I mean, one of the things that I keep stressing in the book is my experience as a very young person in government was supported by the fact that I did my homework. It's really important to get into the weeds on policy so that you can be able to be on the same footing as those who may be trying to impose a point of view on you that could be adverse to the interests of your community. So number one, you have to know what you're talking about. Number two, you have to have confidence in yourself so you're not afraid to take a stand, even if everyone else says you're 100% wrong. Because during that time, the Cleveland media, which was getting heavy advertising dollars from the utility monopoly, was on board to try to push the sale, and they did not care what the private utility was doing to the city, even though it was manifestly illegal. And after a while, the Justice Department caught up with the private utility. So the third thing is, don't back down. Always be ready to hang in there and don't be intimidated.
We're talking a lot on this show about the populist uprising, about people on the right and on the left who are suspicious of what goes on behind the scenes in their government, the lobbying, the corruption, et cetera. How can they come together? What advice do you have for, because I know you're big about trying to find middle ground, not compromising, but the things that there's more that unites us than divides us. How can right and left come together to fight some of this corruption, some of these things that everyone is against? How can we work together?
Well, with respect to the Division of Light and Power, I was fighting to save a municipal electric system that provided 20% electricity at a 20% discount than what the private utility was charging. So what I did was to identify the common economic interests of the people, notwithstanding political parties, ideology, that here the city has electricity that's cheaper. The city's public power system kept taxes low. And these are things that appeal to everyone. So it's important to look for the commonalities. And generally, there are things that bind us together. I mean, that's what I found when I campaigned for president. Campaigning across the country, I saw that Americans do have things that unite us, but our politics, our hyper-partisanship, seeks to divide people in order to try to marshal partisan armies to knock heads, when actually we probably make a lot more progress as a country if we look for those things that we actually can work together on.
I couldn't agree more, Congressman. The name of the book is Division of Light and Power. It is a guidebook for those who want to fight back against the system, protect people from large corporate special interests. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. It's great to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We encourage everyone to go out and read the book, learn how to take on the powerful special interests that may exist locally and or on the federal level.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, more Rising. Stay with us.